Okay, hello everybody. We're back again with another review, another win, 4 wins in the bounce. Obviously, we're not allowed to celebrate anymore, but yeah, 4 wins. Only team in the league with 4 wins. Only team in the league with 12 points. How you guys doing before we get into the review?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Not too bad. Busy day today, but I'm glad to talk about this. We are top of the league, as the boys are saying in the comments. So yeah, no, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's all good. Really busy recently, so bit disheveled today, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it. So let's just talk about this game.
Well, yeah, obviously, Fulham 2-1. We won 2-1. It got a bit shaky around the 60th minute, but we were dominating nonetheless. First thoughts on the lineup. What did you make of the lineup? Obviously, um, the lineup was the same again, the Arsenal lineup and the Fulham lineup. Cabano started left wing for the first time this season, and he started right wing, obviously. What What did you make of both lineups, and did you think any changes in the lineups made a big difference?
I mean, no, I don't think there was any surprises. We can run through them quickly again. We kind of talked about it in the preview. Basically, what we said happened. So I thought that there was nothing surprise wise from a lineup perspective for us. I was. Ironically, though, it's just obviously the Zinchenko and Partey are things that we didn't know from previous, so
Yeah,
we could probably talk really quickly about the precautions there, and they were precautions. I don't know if you guys saw the Gary O'Driscoll tweet
Yeah,
where somebody had been talking to him, but it's just common sense. Like I think they may have picked up a knock in tightness as well, which is nothing you just monitor on a daily basis. So they could be back for Villa, they could not be. I'd probably not do it with Thomas Partey if he was tight. Like if I found out somebody was tight, I'd want at least 7 days personally of kind of free use of that before I'd be comfortable with him kind of being reintroduced. So, you had Mohamed Al Neni come in and Kieran Tierney, but I was telling Chris even before, I think that Kieran Tierney was incredible defensively before he got taken off, and we had to because of the mistake. But he was going to be really important for me with Mitrovic because I felt like that was an opportunity for Mitrovic to isolate Zinchenko and offer us an outball kind of down that side. So for me, Kieran Tierney was really important to come in regardless of injury. I actually would have preferred Kieran Tierney to come in for the Fulham, kind of game on his own. I think Mohamed El Neni, it annoys me that is our plan B. It annoys me tremendously. I would have thought that, I think this cements the idea that we don't view Sambi Lakunga as a six anymore. Like, I think this absolutely secures it because if you're not going to play him during the home game against a team like this, who, by the way, have historically had 40% possession throughout the league, and regardless of their press, was a team that would have sat in. I don't know where's a good time to put Sambi Lakonga if he's still a six in your mind. So for me, this just kind of finally put the nail in the coffin. Not that I'm upset. I've always said Sambi Lakonga for me is an eight. So, I was happy to kind of see that. But I think, with Mohamed El Neni in there, I was excited to see, hopefully, him step up and continue to put himself why he should be back up to Thomas Partey. I still feel that that's an issue for us long term, and also in the transfer market. I wasn't happy that we made that decision, but again, that extension essentially guaranteed that that's what we were going to see. So for me, lineup wise, I think that's the only surprise. Kind of introductions from the lineup. Fulham, there was no surprises. Like everything that we predicted happened in terms of their lineup. So from my perspective down there, nothing with Fulham. But for us, I was really happy that Kieran Tierney was selected ahead of Zinchenko, even if it was through injury. I think that this was a game we needed to have that.
I mean, for me, I think obviously the main issue was the absentees. I agree about Tierney being very good defensively, and he needed to be on his game today. I found it strange that people were surprised that he played inverted because he's been playing that role for about 6 months now. But the main thing for me, obviously, was Partey is missing. We had to play on any, and for someone, his profile means that he is someone that is a recycler, and we have a recycler in Erdegaard. And what that meant is that Erdegaard actually had a bit more of a freer role in his own play. So it'll be interesting to discuss that dynamic. But yeah, I think El Neni is a massive talking point. I think we'll have to discuss it because it's an interesting phenomena that I feel like El Neni being a bit more of conservative and recycling a bit more allowed Odegaard to be a bit more freer. Personally, in my opinion, I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. But yeah, I think we should get into the game.
Well, yeah, obviously the lineups weren't big difference. The only change was the injuries. Yeah, going into the game, how did you feel we started the first half? Did you think we started as well as we did in other games, or were a bit like dilly-dallying? Because the first half did not have as many chances as it did in the first 3 games of the season. So what do you think overall in the first half was the big difference between those games and Fulham?
Mohamed El Neni. People that wanted, somebody, or mainly Thomas Partey, this whole discussion of control, essentially to impact the verticality. I think that's what you saw. It was a team that was essentially, trying to feel out Fulham, but at the same token, Chris, like we may not have had major chances, but we had territory at the same time, and we forced Fulham back. Like one of the biggest changes that I've seen is that Liverpool felt that they could press Liverpool. They felt that they could step up against their back line, and with William Saliba being immense, and even Ramsdale and our entire back line. People talk about how Kieran Tierney and Gabriel, they were afraid from a build-up perspective on our side, having those two in the back there. But then ultimately, Fulham stepped off, and that was a major part of the fact that we were so secure technically. I felt that Odegaard, again, we're going to talk about it. He's my man of the match. Let's get it out of the way. That guy had one of his best 90-minute performances in the shirt period. It was probably his second half was the best performance for me that I've seen since West Ham away, when he had first come in, and in that flagship West Ham performance. I thought he was brilliant this game, and he was really important for me in breaking down a lot of kind of the tactical thoughts in terms of, him breaking out that box in Fulham, which was like really important because Fulham had blocked the center quite a bit, and, Odegaard didn't hide. He opened himself. He kept making himself available, and he was just very, very vertical this match. It was incredible. It was one of his best performances since West Ham away. So yeah, big benefit for me is Martin Odegaard, kind of both in this half and in general. But I think probably the first thing that we can do is talk about that 4-4-2 box shape, and I'm just going to pop up here. This is kind of in the first half, like what you were talking about, Chris. So generally, this is something that we saw far too often in this game. And this was Fulham's major kind of point. So they definitely packed the center into this kind of box shape that you're going to see kind of on the screen right here. And I think the benefit of having, Martin Odegaard, but also Saka having a really good understanding of when to drop in or not. Jesus allowed us to kind of move this box a little bit around. And so Fulham attempted to block the center, as you're going to see here. They've packed it in the middle, and they're trying to stop progression into Martin Odegaard, and they force progression out wide. Now, the big benefit is that suits Arsenal. We have people wide that have no problem building up in that way. So even though that Martin would definitely show himself and maybe he didn't always receive, this is the kind of runs that I would want him making pretty much consistently throughout 90 minutes. And, basically something where I felt that he took control. I really do agree with this kind of topic over here where I feel this is one of the biggest matches I've seen him take responsibility. And, he was making space for others. He was dropping in and he was making unselfish runs, trying to drag out the Fulham box like this. Now, we didn't necessarily always hit him in the middle of the park, but that is what, was super important in us being able to build wide. And, Ben White had a phenomenal game as well. Like that's another person that for me did so good on Mitrovic, especially pushing the ball forward between the lines. He was offering himself as a wide option. Like I said, with this box, it was unable for us to really go through the middle. And so I felt that entire side was starting to become more dynamic. A lot of my criticisms about this team opening up dynamism wide is starting to come a little bit more into play. And I think that's why our right-hand side started to spark a little bit more. And on top of that, I think what people are finally seeing is when I've talked about him as an inverted right back for so long, you're starting to see his low-driven cutbacks kind of into the game. But just in general, he was so touch-tight to Mitrovic whenever the Serbian tried to go near him. And, he was just very, very good physically against him, very assertive front foot defending. So, very good performance from him, but I would say this box shape is probably the most important thing in the match and how we kind of built wide and, we were able to really stop that.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing in terms of what's happening with Odegaard and with El Neni, I think the ability to transition between having a recycler that allows you to have an Erdegaard who's more aggressive, who's more assertive in build up, as well as being able to assert his will in the final third a bit more. You saw Erdegaard pulling wide a lot. You saw him going up into the final third a lot, and not being sort of in the elbow pivot as we used to play. For me, I think this is one of his best games because when Erdegaard takes charge and when Erdegaard is aggressive, a bit more vertical, a bit more willing to combine in the final third, create. Because I remember there was times in the first half where we were having sort of these intricate one-touch moments, and it almost looked like Wenger ball a bit, just sort of like just around the edge of the box, getting into the box and trying to get off intricate shots, because Erdegaard was controlling the tempo from the first to the third, to the first through the lines and into the final action. So I think this was the game that kickstarted. We talked about how the left-hand side was so dominant in the last couple of games. This was the right-hand side taking charge and taking control a bit more. You saw more ability for Ben White to understand that he can be a bit more aggressive in build-up as well. He was much more aggressive in terms of his overlapping, in terms of being able to come inside. We saw runs off the ball from Bukayo as well as Ben. So it was very interesting to see that you could have, I think, Odegaard a bit more freer, because I feel like he sometimes looks to when we have Thomas in the lineup. I think he feels like he needs to present a bit more and drop a bit more and be a bit more involved in build up, and we don't need him there at this moment in time. He needs to be further up the pitch where he can affect the game and break down the block. And Fulham did have a very good block, so we had to be patient. We had to break it down.
Well, fundamentally, Kern, like I think you needed this movement because he wasn't doing it in the first two games. You can just see it by his physical touch map. You know, he was far more involved, and when he is involved and he shows himself and he is vertical, because I think one of the big things that we're going to talk about later when we talk about the chances is he also released quickly. It wasn't just a matter of him showing in order to make unselfish runs in the box, which he was doing all game, but then he started releasing a lot quicker, even in shots in terms of people being in front of him. He wasn't afraid to take people on. He was able to kind of release, and this is all that you really want from him. And so I think this is kind of his flagship performance, not just, of this season, but I think for me, this is probably his best 90 minutes from me, because even that flagship West Ham performance, I felt he was poor in the first half, and then in the second half, he was unbelievable. This is probably one of the best 90-minute performances I've seen from him. And even in terms of his shooting, it was strong. He has good technique. This is why I don't understand why he chooses to pass. And I think even in his post-match interview, when he's with Gabriel, he was talking about how there was opportunities for him to kind of shoot a little bit more. And I think he's very self-critical of himself. I think he knows why he needs to do it. But I'm just glad in this game to finally see him release the trigger, release that, and it was excellent to see.
Yeah, he was clearly man of the match. Obviously, the Fulham block made us play wide a lot. It was the most we've played wide all season. We definitely dominated territory. Like, for example, 19% of the game was played in our half, 40% was played in there. So we definitely dominated the game, and this just shows how good their block was centrally. And they did this to Liverpool, and Liverpool couldn't do anything till they got a presence in between the centre backs and Nunez, and we had that all game. I think he did well. Definitely his best game this season by far. Like, it's nothing similar to what he's done all season. Like, it's the first time he's been so present in the first 4 games of the season, with shots, passes, goals. Like, he was very impactful in getting us to obviously the win, and just performance all around. 74% possession in the first half. Like, we definitely dominated. But I want to get into some highlights of the first half, not just tactical stuff. And as I said, there weren't many chances in the first half, but when there was, we should have scored, I think. So the first chance comes from in the 40th minute from Erdegaard cross, which was a great cross.
It reminded me of his Sociedad kind of crosses, if you remember. Like,
to the back post.
He loved that right half space cross with Isak, and there's the chance in the second half with Eddie where he has that kind of lofted ball reminded me of his balls for Isak as well. But yeah, sorry, Chris.
Well, yeah, so it's Ødegaard cross. We did some good build up with White Saka and Ødegaard on the right hand side. Then he plays this beautiful cross to the back post. Jesus takes a good first touch and lays it into Xhaka, who misses with his right foot, but at least he's willing to shoot and play the passes with his right foot. Because last time, for example, versus Burnley, he wasn't good on his right foot. He wasn't confident on his right foot, and it resulted in a Burnley goal. But yeah, this chance was in the 40th minute and one of our two big chances in the first half. What did you make of this chance? And do you think we could have done anything different to get a goal in this chance?
I think we did well. Like I'm really happy that he's finally released out wide early. I need to see this more consistently because he doesn't do this often enough. But when he does do it, I think Jesus peels wide really, really well and lays it into Xhaka, who's doing a third man run. We've been doing that a lot lately. So whether that's on the left or on the right, we've had people that are going to stretch the pitch touch line, and then we hope to have these cutbacks inside, both at the top of the box. Xhaka's got himself goals because of it that season. I understand it's probably a weak effort with his weak foot, but again, like you said, Chris, I'm really happy that he's kind of released. And on top of it, I think the big thing that we saw here is, Jesus again pulling wide, a striker that moves, cough, somebody that can actually move and stretch the pitch and not break, just kind of in the center of the pitch here, basically allows him to receive that touch wide. And then, Xhaka does the rest, where I think, he probably can do a little bit more, to put it on target. But, it's a good chance. And I think it really all comes down to Martin essentially doing that. And, he needs to do this a little bit more often. If he can release those switches, there are people out there wide where we've got numerical superiority. And if we can do those switches more effectively, where it's not just Martin, but whether it's Xhaka or Zinchenko switching off to Saka, opposite side, like that's what we need to do in order to really maximize, when we have space there. So that was a big thing for me as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing is, obviously Xhaka tries to get the shot off, and he just tries to hit it, and that's fine. I think that we got into a good position and try to create a situation to score, and I think that's something we can replicate, and that's what we're looking for in these performances. Can you replicate the chances that you're creating? And Ødegaard puts in a good ball. I think that he's just unlucky to not get the shot on target, and it's a good chance, and that's what it is.
Well, yeah, that was our first big chance of the first half. Fulham didn't have a big chance in the first half, and I think we'll just move on to the second big chance in the 32nd minute, which was great play, and a lot of highlights were shown of this chance after the score, after the Saka miss. But yeah, I'll walk you through it again. So Gabriel from a White tackle, actually, Gabriel plays a pass between the lines to Ødegaard, who does a 1-2 with White, and he returns the ball, obviously, first time to Saka central to Xhaka, who was fouled. Xhaka was fouled, and then from that, White plays a ball to Saka, who obviously goes in behind 1v1 with the keeper. But before I show, obviously, the chop and the shot missed, what do you think he should have done from this point onwards,
George?
Because
I think when you're looking at this chance here, look, it is kind of fortunate at the end of the day. When you do scroll back a little bit, we had some really good possession, but Fulham nick it, and Ben White does really good to step into midfield. It's something that I've been talking about even as far as Bournemouth. I felt that he was getting really accustomed to the role, and then with his stepping into midfield, he does a really good ball. And of course, I think Nketiah has to do a little bit better here. I think there's a really good recovery run by Fulham here, so this is excellent. But when he is available to kind of chop into his left foot, I need him to have a little bit more, well, not a little bit more, a lot more conviction in terms of just going top corner. Like if you're going to chop down, then no problem. I think they cut the space well. This really is a good recovery run, and I think Robinson, who had done an excellent job on Saka all game, right, is just the one few times that he's let him go off the ball. And I think this is excellent to see from Bukayo from a run perspective. This is something that I want him to do a lot more of, because he doesn't do this run enough for me. I think, him going blind side off Robinson is excellent. He is a little bit fortunate with where the ball lies and where it comes off of. But, ultimately, once he's in this position, I think I need him to score. This is the next step that he needs to take, in order to be kind of that elite person Can be. So it's unfortunate. He does well to get it on target. I just need him to do a little bit more. And then also, I wanted to say shout out to Bernd Leno. I don't know if you guys were watching him, but he does this a lot excellently. And like, you know, in terms of shot stopping, in terms of his availability 1v1, he's always been very good at this kind of thing. So I think he cuts the angle really well, and he does a good job as a goalkeeper. He does what he needs to do here, and it's a good save. It really is a good save. So for me, I just think I would make the decision quicker if I was Saka. You know, I think he delayed it a little bit too much, and then by the time he got chopped back, you know, Leno had already cut the angle. So for me, I would probably go in and release a little bit sooner. But this was a good chance done by Ben White's endeavor to step into midfield and really be combative there.
I mean, he takes out Tosin. I think people are just missing that. He completely takes Tosin out, and yeah, he doesn't get the shot in the goal, but Leno comes out, he makes himself big, and he smothers the ball. It's not that big a deal. I think he made the right decision. He lost his man, and he got the shot off on target. It's not like he shot it straight at the keeper. He tried to bend it around him, and the keeper saved it. It's not a huge deal. But I think people are looking to make it more of it than it is. But it is what it is.
Well, yeah, obviously after the misses and the chances missed, apart from the assist Saka got this game, it was deemed that he's unfit to play and we're killing him, and he hasn't been good at all this season, which I disagree with. Yeah, he chopped it and then the shot was saved. And I think he should have done better and should have scored from this, but he didn't. We go into the half 0-0. What were your thoughts? At half time 0-0 with 74% possession, 8 shots to 3. 2 shots on target and 0. Like, what were your thoughts after essentially a first half domination?
I was really impressed with the first half. You know, Fulham had never really experienced this in the first 3 games. You know, particularly with Liverpool, and you look back at all of their games, they felt that they could press people. And I remember kind of chatting in the group chat, look, it's annoying that we haven't been clinical in the moments and the times that we could be clinical. But Fulham had retreated back into this block very, very early. And, you know, we didn't allow Mitrovic to predict any of the ball. You know, we kind of, you know, if you go back a little bit ahead, even as far as Wolves, if you look at kind of this lopsided area, we didn't see Fulham this high against us. And, you know, it was primarily to do, especially when you were kind of looking wherever the ball went, they weren't pushing as high on our defensive line. And, you know, look, ultimately that's because our defenders are extremely technically secure. I think we did a really good job getting out. And even though they attempted, once they found out that they couldn't step to us that quickly, they then started doing this a little bit more, where they tried to block off the center of the pitch, and they felt as though if we could do that, maybe we could nick a second ball and really push for a winner or a transition goal threat. But, you know, we did really well in terms of not going away from the game plan. And, you know, I was very happy, despite the idea that we didn't get any clinical goals. I felt it was our most controlled performance up until kind of the 60th minute, and we get that Gabriel mistake, really. But I mean, even then, when you look at it, I think we'll get a shot earlier, but I think by the 60th minute mark, up until that goal, we had something like 32 touches in the opposition box, and Fulham only had 7. So once again, it just goes to show you, you know, this is a team that was having a really well-controlled performance, and it was missing really everything but the goal. And, you know, I was sitting there licking my lips, hopefully that I was going to get that 2-0 prediction. But anyways, yeah, no, I was very impressed with that first half. And I think we did really well.
I mean, the other thing I just want to mention is with this first half performance, I feel like at times last season, especially, we would sometimes build up pressure. And even though we didn't go for like the burst, as people like to call it, the first 30 minutes, we learned just to be a bit more calm. I think this was a much more mature performance. I don't agree it was the most controlled. I think Bournemouth was a bit more controlled, because I don't feel like Bournemouth had any issues with producing any actual chances on goal that could be worrying. I feel like in the totality, I think this was a not as controlled performance. But in terms of field tilt, I don't know if you've looked at the Scott Willer stats. I think it was like 63.5% field tilt towards us. There were times where literally I don't think they had many chances in our own half as we did theirs. So I just think that in terms of the issues, in terms of control, I think their press allowed them to basically make a modicum of control, take a modicum of control away from us instead of being sort of as like defensive as Bournemouth were. I think they were willing to come at us a bit more. I think the other thing is they weren't as aggressive because they didn't feel like they could be as aggressive. Then knowing how we build up and how we could play through the lines. I think we were talking off stream before about how they wouldn't dare try and Wolves us, because against Wolves they were much more higher. So this performance was a much more sort of calmer performance. I think is the main point I'm trying to get across. Much more calm, not as aggressive with the burst, as it were. It was a much more 90 minutes performance, and the first half showed that we didn't panic when the chances weren't coming. We didn't just sort of switch off and sort of. There was no like moment where we just went crap, we have to retreat. Let's just get through the until half time. We kept to our task and got through to half time.
Well, yeah, we dominated the first half. We had the two big chances, and we didn't score from them. Going into the second half, I was confident that we'd get some goals. Obviously, from the 52nd to the 54th minute, a lot of things happened. We had two big chances, and they had a goal. So I'll take you through the first. Well, it wasn't necessarily a big chance, but it just shows some things that I wanted to show. Well, Tete receives on his chest from our long ball. Martinelli does well to pickpocket him. Good pressing. He makes a pass to Ødegaard. Ødegaard takes the long shot and Leno makes the save. But I just wanted to highlight another screenshot which shows Ødegaard's willingness to release the ball today. Well, not today, it was on Saturday, but he was a lot more willing to release, a lot more willing to be potent with shots and passes. And it was something different that we from Bournemouth and from Leicester and from Palace. Like, it was very different performance with him. This chance was an easy save for Leno, but what did you make of his potency all game? I know we've touched on it, but there's just another screenshot to show it.
He was good. I mean, he was very good. He's always been a good shot stopper. He's always been someone that if you put him between the posts, he's going to produce good saves. And I think I remember when we did the predictions, you guys were saying to me, "Look, Karen, you've got to rate them higher because Leno is going to save them. He's one of the most value for money signings in this window." And I was a bit iffy on it, but he's proven me wrong. And I think if he continues to prove me wrong, they'll stay comfortably up. So very good performance from him.
Yeah, no, Eddie, I had said he was the big reason why we changed this game. Ultimately, Eddie Nketiah, for me, I kind of want to wait till we get to those chances. I'll be honest with you, because ultimately here, what you've seen as a guy now is not only doing it in the left half space, but he's able to peel wide. He's just a totally different player. This guy is evolving right now. It's somebody that I think we've basically built into a 40 million pound asset here. It's actually quite scary what we've seen with this, because he wasn't just running channels both in the center or at left. This entire chance about peeling out wide was phenomenal. It was what allowed us to kind of open the space, and it wasn't just that, but I think the big thing here, at least for me, was the idea of Saka dropping in. I think the more often that we get Saka involved inside in the half spaces, the better for the team. And with Ben providing an overlapping option, he's able to push in. Saka receives really nice and deep. And then after that, what I think is really good is, Ødegaard takes the shot. I don't care that it's deflected. The fact that he shoots here is what I'm really impressed by. And, I've always said the quicker that he kind of reduces that pass completion, the quicker that, he takes these chances early, the more things happen. We don't know whether or not this gets deflected elsewhere. We don't know any of that. But the fact that he decides to take a shot is excellent. Look, would I have liked him to slip in Saka at that point, Chris, if you just keep it up for like a little bit? Sure. He could slip in Saka here, but I'm not going to criticize the man for finally taking the potency to then go and shoot. So yeah, I was really impressed by that.
Well, after this, straight like a minute after, we have another big chance another Leno save. I'll just take you through this as well. Gabriel makes the pass between the lines. Ødegaard, first time pass to Jesus. Jesus begins the attack, and in this we can see it's a 5v5. I think we did very well to keep the numbers like this all game. Like we overloaded an attack consistently, and regardless of where the players were, I thought our overloads and our spacing in our 2, 3, 5 or 5 players in 5 channels was very good. He lays it off to Xhaka, who makes the pass back to him, and then he fluffs the shot straight into Leno's hand. What did you make of this chance just before, obviously their goal? But what did you make of this chance straight after that Odegaard shot?
I mean, look, I think that there was, you can see that they crashed their box very well. They had men in front of the ball, and at the end of the day, we created the space for that run, and we got the shot off, and they just had too many men in front of it, and it was crowded out. So, not more you can say a lot about that. They defended well, we created the space well, and it just didn't turn out to be a goal. I think that was the way the half went. I think they were good defensively. We were good in creating opportunities, but not finishing them. So yeah, very interesting. But yeah, fine. It's like the Saka one. Like I think Leno was very good defending it, but Saka makes the opportunity and gets the shot on target. It's not like he fluffs his lines. So I think both sides kind of cancelled each other out with good play. Sorry, Chris, you can go now.
Yeah, for me on this, after this chance, I was telling George we might as well take Jesus off because I felt like that 10 minutes after the second half started, his presence disappeared. He was doing nothing for us aerially, and they started to win some duels in that first 10 minutes of the second half. So I was like, if he's missing easy chance like this, he should have at least put in the corner, make it hard for Leno. But as you can see, just straight away, easy and double hand save. So I thought, yeah, get him off because he's not really helping us at this point. Obviously, Nketiah comes on, but before that, we concede. We were speaking about the goal before, and Curran, obviously, before he saw it properly, had a different perception of what Gabriel did wrong in this moment. And someone even commented earlier, like, who do you blame for their goal? I'll bring it up, but I completely blame Gabriel. But
it has to be him, right?
Yeah, I mean, initially, I'll just say what I thought happened because, I mean, before I saw the picture, I mean, this is the comment, but before I saw the picture, because I've only just seen, I didn't have time to fully watch it. I'm very busy right now, but from what I have seen in the extended replays, obviously Gabriel's very clumsy on the ball, but I thought that he was put in a position to fail. Basically, I think that he was. I didn't see how much space he was in, but when you roll it forward and you see how much space he's in, that's how we play. We play out from the back. Ramsdale's being marked. Gabriel is free, and he just fumbles on the ball, and he allows the big man in Mitrovic to, basically just outmuscle him and get the ball off him. So yeah, it's completely on Gabriel, and I think that putting it on anyone but him is a bit mad, personally.
Well, yeah. So Saka plays the long ball to escape pressure because it's a 3v3 in the corner with Elneny, Saka, and Saliba there. There was nowhere else we could play the ball without losing it. Gabriel receives and he has a lot of time on his hands. Like Mitrovic is at least 10 yards, 15 yards away from him. He's not particularly fast anyways. So this is all on Gabriel for me, especially when he received this. He takes 3 bad touches and then Mitrovic somehow in 2 seconds makes it next to him, and then Mitrovic tackles, results in a goal, and then everyone was just shocked because we completely dominated just for it to be taken away from us cheaply, just like this. Obviously, everyone's thoughts were we don't win when we concede first. We rarely win when we concede first. We've barely done it under Mikel Arteta, and we barely do it in general. What did you guys make of the Gabriel mistake? I'm gonna say that the Gabriel mistake. What did you make of the Gabriel mistake and the Mitrovic goal?
Yeah, I think this is it's completely on Gabriel. I think it's poor, and what's really frustrating is he's opening up himself into a position where he's totally able to step out properly into midfield. Like there is no stress at this point. Particularly, I think Chris, if you were to just go to the screenshot like a couple before, because I don't know. I didn't feel as though that Gabriel was under any real pressure. Like here at this point in time, you've got 5 yards from Mitrovic, who, by the way, was pressing Saliba. Like, he's obviously running and he's making himself known to try to put us under pressure, but he was a lot closer to Saliba, when Saka had originally made this pass. And at this moment in time, exactly. So, he's right by Saliba, and, he does well to make up the yards. Like, there's nothing else that you have to do beyond commending Mitrovic for basically being that pressing trigger. But, we were doing this all game, by the way. It wasn't just, this one instance. So I just think it's as simple as saying it's an individual mistake. Even at this point in time, Gabriel needs to recognize, okay, let me shift my body to get myself in between Mitrovic and the ball. That's the one thing that I was really frustrated with, where, look, anyone can have a bad touch. It can happen to anybody. But I think at this moment in time, he has to balance his body by getting in between Mitrovic and the ball, and then just firing it at back, saying, look, bad, let's regroup, let's resettle, let's reset our offense. But, I think this is probably one of those experience things where, get it out into the crowd, that's fine. But if you don't want to do that, you need to be a little bit better aware of your surroundings. So for me, that's kind of the only big thing I would probably say. And then, look, Mitrovic as well. Look, he comes in, he tackles cleanly. I don't think I have an issue with any part of the Mitrovic goal, especially at this moment in time. He just outmuscles Gabriel. He does well. And then when he's clear in on goal, I think Ramsdale actually does well to cut out the angle. But this is just a good goal by Mitrovic, a proper center forward goal, capitalizing and picking Gabriel's pocket and capitalizing on an individual mistake.
Oh yeah, the goal. So there was 3 essentially big chances. Their goal are 2 chances that Lena saved in that passage of play in 2 minutes, and then we come back quickly in the 63rd minute, 63rd, 64th minute. Here we can see their settled block 4-4-2. Gabriel is deeper where Mitrovic tried to step up and we just passed over to Saliba. It's a pretty tight 4-4-2. There's a lot of space on their right hand side and our left. And Saliba plays a good pass between the lines to Saka, who is on the half turn, and he's being chased by Palhinha, who didn't have a good game, and Cabano. He passes to Odegaard, who takes the shot, which results in a goal at the edge of the box. And it's 1-1 at this point. What did you make of how we recovered, how we answered back in less than 10 minutes again, similar to Leicester? It took a bit more time, but similar to Leicester in the sense that we bounced back. And
it's a massive thing. It's massive.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, what was it? We've only won, last season we only won, 4 points coming from behind? Something ridiculous like that. From losing game states, we've not been good. And to see us look to just, again, show some resilience, show some fight, get back from a losing situation and get the win is, especially in that period of time when, 62nd, 63rd minute, the goal went in, the first goal.
The first goal was 54th.
Yeah, so from the first goal going in at 54 to coming into getting back at 60, 63, I think it was, to show that you have the urgency and the want to get back in so quickly. And this is the second time this has happened now, even though the first one obviously is from a different game state. But the issue is the response. We're showing fight. And I think there was a lot of things in preseason, Mikel saying that he was focusing on getting a goal situations, last 10 minute situations in training, because he wanted to see us basically grab more goals from when your back's against the wall type situation. So it's paying off, and it's good to see that he's really looking to put a stamp down and make sure that we actually understand that, look, you can't just sit back. You have to go and attack the game, especially when you're losing. You can't. These things don't happen. So yeah, very good, very, very good.
Well, after this, Fulham had some chances, really, from set pieces. They didn't create anything much. They had that Mitrovic header in the 66th minute, which I'm going to go through, but give me a second to pull it up. Yeah, really, after this point, all they created was from 2 set pieces, one after our goal, and one after the first goal and one after the second. Pereira takes the corner. Mitrovic, who, did you think this was a foul on Jesus, or perfectly fair because certain people I saw were complaining about how Mitrovic is essentially on Jesus' body.
I don't know
I mean,
about that.
I don't know. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I'll be
me
honest with
too.
you. This is just somebody fighting in the box. If I'm going to stop this, then I'm going to stop Gabriel, who does just about the same thing. Basically, everybody. You know what I'm more upset about, Chris, is why Jesus is the one marking Mitrovic. I understand that we're kind of approaching a little bit more of a zonal slash man-to-man marking here. I'd rather Eddie or even Ben. Gabriel ideally. Like if we're going to go man to man at some point here, I would ideally like Gabriel and Mitrovic here. But I think more of the issue here that I have is that 1v1 basically happening with Mitrovic and Jesus, as opposed to Mitrovic doing what he did to Jesus.
Yeah, and then we had the Ramsdale obviously made the save, then Ben White made the great block, put his body on
Phenomenal
the
block,
line.
by the way. Like if you look at that in real time, this was incredible. I don't know if people actually caught this, so I just wanted to highlight it really quickly. And there's not much analysis to go here, just phenomenal defending. It's why I thought that Ben White had one of his best games yet again. I really wanted to highlight him because he was everywhere, and this was an incredible response as well. If you actually go back, he's marking somebody in the center, and he has the presence of mind to recognize that the kind of the parry from Ramsdale could be in a dangerous situation. And this is actually one thing that I think Ramsdale could do a little bit better on. Like I'd like him to have a little bit more purchase on his parries. If he has a little bit more purchase, I think Xhaka, who's a little bit higher up in that pitch over there, has a chance to come and help out and get it. But I think here Ben White just does phenomenally well. It's phenomenal defending, and that's £50 million defending. That's what that is.
Well, what did you make of the block by Ben White and him putting his body on the line? And after you guys say that, what did you make on his overall game? Because I think he went a bit under the radar.
100% went under the radar. I think the block itself, obviously, he anticipates the situation and he puts his body on the line. It's more you can ask, not more you can ask for. So, yeah, very good. I think his overall performance, he's improving in that role. I think he's providing a physical, athletic, physically good and a physically athletic, from an athleticism point of view in that three, he's been very good. So I think he's adjusting to that role quite well and he's playing well. So very good performance from him. I think me and George were discussing off stream, and I'll let George tell you why, but he was saying he was one of the most underrated performers, and I tend to agree with him. So what did you think, George? You were saying to me off stream about him being excellent.
Yeah, no, I think ultimately, what I found is he was so touch tight to Mitrovic when he could, and also his overlapping performance. I know we're highlighting a really good defensive piece of awareness right here, and he does this, by the way. His anticipation is second to none, probably in the world. I think, guys, do you guys remember the All or Nothing with not Roman Polina, but with Carlos Cuesta when he's talking with Ben White in terms of describing what kind of player he is? He is probably one of the most anticipatory defenders I've seen, and he is looking at Aaron Ramsdale, by the way, anticipating the parry isn't going to get there. And for me, he throws his body on the line. It's excellent, but it was just emblematic of his performance as a whole. Again, like I said, he was touch tight to Mitrovic, didn't put a foot wrong. He was stepping into midfield. He had that chance earlier with Saka in terms of that 1v1 in the 34th minute. That's from Ben White stepping in, creating a through ball. And guys, we'll get on to the Eddie and Nketiah chances because I think that's what's coming, Chris. So I don't want to steal your thunder, but he is very important there too. He's overlapping excellently, and I think he was providing a driven cross that was just phenomenal all game. If you look into it, I think the 46th minute, guys, like the extra minute, there's an opportunity where Ben White's wide and he does a low driven cross into the box, and it's to Jesus and Xhaka, but they don't do too much with it. But it's his dynamism that he was offering down that right the entire time, and I think he's getting slowly accustomed to the role. And it's exactly what I predicted to happen. So it's just a little bit. It's good. It's good to see those things happen in real time. So yeah, I thought he was one of his better performances. And if Odegaard just didn't have that 90 minutes of splendor, he was going to be my second man of the match. Like he was just up there as for our performers at least, one of the best.
Well, yeah, you are right. Well, before I go into the Nketiah shot, I wanted to go into the Martinelli shot. It was just a quick one. He just another highlight of his pressing, which I think was very good, versus Fulham on the right and on the left. Yeah, this is he pickpocketed. I think it was Robinson. He
Hmm.
pickpockets Robinson, takes a shot of his left foot that is easily saved by Leno. Easily saved by Leno. But just another thing to highlight is his long shots. No, his pressing. And then Nketiah, who came on around the 70th minute. No, the 60th minute, straight after their goal. He came on to change the game. It was the first early sub. Do you think, before I get into all his highlights, do you think we should have made the sub with other players or just Nketiah?
I mean, Nketiah was the main fulcrum of our change. I tweeted straight after the game, Eddie Nketiah changed the game, and he did change the game. I think that it was, I personally, I mean, obviously, the change that Mikel made, moving to a three at the back, making Saka come to the left, and changing the dynamic between our midfield and how we built up, was instrumental in how we won this game. But for me, I think there's more players that could have come off, sure. I personally didn't really see the need to keep Mikhail on. I know we've said Martinelli has played in that left wing back, sort of moving forward, and he played well on the right today. But for me personally, I would have taken Mikhail off. He looked tired at times. I know this whole thing about the overplay narrative. I think it's rubbish. I think he's been okay. He's had good games. He's had okayish games. He got an assist in this game, but to say he's been overused, I think is a bit mad. But anyway, the issue with I think he could have been taken off. I think we had options to bring on. So, but the main thing for me was Eddie. Eddie, I have to stress, was the outlets, the ability to hit shots. He wasn't, taking 5 touches. He was looking to be aggressive with his shots. So, I think Eddie is the main change. I don't know about you guys. Do you guys think any other changes should have been made?
No, Eddie is the one deserving. Look, I've said, I definitely agree with kind of what Ali's saying, and I was even mentioning it a lot earlier in the stream. I don't know what we're going to get with Eddie and Nketiah, guys. Like, we've got a player right now that is showing absolutely phenomenal levels of physical development, but it's beyond just physical development. Like, we've got a level of confidence that I just haven't seen him have. And I kind of made reference to it, cheaply in terms of the finishing drill that we saw a little bit earlier in the season. But this is a guy that's just bubbling. He's bursting at the seams. He's ready to seriously impact games. Guys, it wasn't just this, but, again, I want to get into the chances specifically, so I'm sure Chris will pop them up and we'll go through them. But, what we found is his control in contact has been phenomenal. He is a person, and I've said it in some of the comments, Curran, you were talking about how you said, I also said, like, he changed the game. And it was just his absolute presence, in the middle of the park, but also wide, peeling off. It was just amazing. But, again, I said Eddie deserves minutes, and I get why we can't, but it sucks. Sometimes it just that simply in terms of tactical awareness, he is somebody right now that is pulling wide, moving defenders. And I was having this debate with a lot of people in group chats where he, instead of being moved, he's now moving people. And so for me, that's just an incredible development that we haven't really quite seen. I think we always saw this left half space drop that he showed in preseason in his dribbling. But what I didn't see is him being able to peel wide, and he's starting to look a little bit like a profile of a Victor Osimhen, somebody who is just an incredible physical presence, both back to goal, but somebody that is a mover that will move people. He can go wide right, wide left. Right now, it doesn't really matter. He is basically terrorizing defenses, and he's doing it coming to drop deep. I feel really bad for Eddie Nketiah, I must say. The fact that Gabriel Jesus is the only reason he doesn't start. And even then, I kind of agree with Ali. I think that, him not being able to start versus Villa is a crime. He changed this game. He for me, and despite Odegaard, by the way, having a phenomenal 90 minutes, and he's still man of the match for me, but I think that it ultimately is somebody that has helped us get a grip back on the game, despite the narrative and despite I don't think us worrying about it. I just felt that Eddie Nketiah gave us a different dynamic.
Well, yeah. So I'll get into his first chance. This is how it ended. Eddie took the shot and but it started from Martinelli, who played a he played a through ball to Eddie, and Eddie from this position did a chop and took the ball onto his left foot. Me personally, after he took the chop, obviously he took the shot. I didn't think he should have shot. It does show his confidence and stuff, but I think he made the wrong decision, and he could have either put it over the top to Saka or played in Odegaard. But I disagreed with Curran. I thought he should have passed the ball here and made it better for the team rather than himself. And it does show his confidence, but I feel he should have passed. Do you think he
I
should
mean,
have?
obviously, he should have. I think from the game state and the situation, he should have passed. But what I like to see from Eddie, and why I think personally, I'm not too upset with that chance. In the moment, I just said that's fine because I want to see him take those chances. I want to see him have the confidence to take that chance. I want to see a 9 that's hungry for goals, and that's what this shot is. It's not. If you look at the shot, it's not exactly. I mean, obviously, he turns and he makes it a. He makes that shot, and it's a decent shot. And it's not like he blasts it into Rosie. He gets a decent shot off, and I want him to have the confidence to take those shots because if you look at Bird's positioning here, if he hits that bottom corner, it's in. So I have no issue with him taking it. I think obviously you could play in the we could play in Bukayo. So yeah, I agree with Alex here. I think that he's on his good foot. He's a striker. So yeah, 100% fine with that.
No, I completely disagree that he definitely should have passed. What did you make of this chance, George? There is some people.
Difficult one. I must say, look, as a striker, I can understand his willingness to shoot. I'm probably with Chris here. I don't know if it's the greatest decision because if you look at here in terms of what Eddie is facing right now, he's shooting between 3 players and Bert Leno has that side covered. So for me, I'd probably lay it off in terms of Martin Odegaard, who would then switch it off to Saka. Like the space is on the left. It's not on the right. But at the same token, I can't really criticize a young striker who I felt like is somebody that refrains from shooting too often. So again, for me, it's a case of, listen, I'll take the shot because you've been playing very well. But I think if I'm really being really critical as a coach, I definitely want them to kind of switch into the far left.
Well, obviously, we'll go into another chance. This is just to show Eddie's great movement, but from here, Odegaard makes this great pass, but Eddie starts wide left, and he makes a curved run between the fullback at this point in Babu and the right centre mid who dropped in to make it a back 5. But Eddie makes a great one. I just wanted to highlight him on the left, and once Odegaard plays the pass, he's essentially touch tight with Mbabu. It was a great ball over the top. Eddie takes the first touch. I felt he should have volleyed it straight away. I don't think he should have brought it down because he allowed Tosin to recover, who does have great recovery speed, and then Tosin makes the great block. What do you think he should have done different, and do you think he should have scored? Because I do think he should have at least had a shot on target.
I mean, for me, I think obviously you want to take that with your right. I think you just throw a boot it and see. I just want to highlight the pass from Odegaard. I think obviously that pass we were mentioning earlier, the balls he used to make to Isak. So I really think that the issue here is just taking it first time. It's you want to just give it a hoof, but obviously he wants to make the chance. He thinks he has time and he runs out of time. So really think that it's an interesting thing to deal with. So that's the main thing for me anyway.
Yeah, but it's I don't know, mate. Like I think I'm a big fan of this Eddie chance. I'll be honest with you. I think that he's got to do a little bit better. For me, I think Tosin does. Ultimately, this is just a guy forcing his chances again, and I have no problem with that. In terms of I could have done it earlier, maybe, but I just think this is a good Tosin block. I think we're being a little bit nitpicky if I really criticize Eddie here. It's just good movement and it's good recovery.
I think he should have at least had a shot, but again, we'll go into another chance where we had We had a sorry that really threw me off.
That really threw
We
me
had
off as well.
well, yeah. Martinelli had a chance. Obviously, it was just him. This is Martinelli 1v1 with Mbabu, who I felt did not have a good game, especially with Martinelli. How he played. He beat him, and then he ended up taking a shot at the near post. Versus he beat him, ended up taking a shot at the near post, which Leno saved, which ended up in the corner. We scored, and Mitrovic complained to the. But whilst I'm getting up, what did you make of the goal? Obviously, Gabriel redemption story, and Harry redeemed himself from the mistake for the first goal.
The thing is, what's happening? Apparently, George is in a fire. So, yeah. So that's interesting. Yeah, DefCon 4 is going off. I think George is going to have to peace out. But in terms of the creation of this chance, I think obviously Martinelli, he tries to get this shot off and he tries to get it into a position where we can score, but obviously Leno just covers his post well and doesn't much more to say. What do you think about Chris?
Yeah, Leno did well to cover his post. Yeah, there was not much else. He could have passed to Erdegaard, which I would have done, but he had his head down when he dribbles, and he always dribbles with his head down. And I just realised that I didn't put the Gabriel goal in. Just the
Did you
celebration.
not?
No, I had everything apart from the Gabriel goal.
Shall I put it in quickly?
Yeah, do that.
If you want to talk for a bit, I'll put it in. Just give me a sec.
Well, yeah. I nearly had this. I think we dominated the whole game. We dominated the second half. And yeah, Karen did say George has to leave. You could hear what was going on in the background. It was a fire alarm. But we had good chances. 2-1. I was happy that George didn't get his prediction correct. I even said it to him that I think it was going to be 2-1, but I'm going to switch to 4-1 just because I'm hopeful of goals. We didn't take our chances yet again, especially in the second half. We could have made better decisions, but we came away with the win. The celebration police came out. So I just wanted to show some of our celebrations with Gabriel, Zinchenko, who came on the pitch and then got a shout into
The
Ramsdale.
steward tried to celebrate. The steward was really confused over.
Yeah, I was confused as well because I was like to my brother, there's a fan on the pitch because he's in all black. He's in all black, and I didn't know he was even in the stadium. So I thought there was a fan on the pitch. But before we get into the Gabriel goal, because it's just not there, I was going to get into the Fulham chance, their last chance. So it was a cross from a set piece, which it was a cross from a set piece, which resulted in a shot by Tosin and a great save by Ramsdale. And then he did this after he made the save, and then the game was done. We won. We won again, 4 wins in the bounce. We might become the first team this season to win 5 in a row. Pretty different to last season.
But do you remember last season where we were constantly saying no one's in this league does five in a row often, and that's really impressive. So 5 in a row, no matter the opposition, is still up. Even the run we went on last year with the 10 in a row, we had draws in there. So 5 wins in a row would really be something. So really looking forward to seeing the Villa game, because it should be a game that we do win. So yeah, I mean, in terms of what do you make of 15 points out of 15 potentially?
Yeah, it would be great. Only City and Liverpool really do 5 and 5. We did it last season, yes, and Chelsea did it as well. Spurs didn't do 5 wins in a row, but they did like 10 games, 8 wins. So you need to go on a big run to get top 4. Everyone in the top 4 goes on these big runs, no matter the stage in the season. Because if it was as easy as people are saying it is, everyone would do it. Because United haven't faced tougher teams than us: Brentford, Brighton, obviously Liverpool, but Liverpool haven't faced tougher teams than us as well. Liverpool played Bournemouth. They played the same Fulham team and they drew, but we beat this Fulham team. They played Crystal Palace, who they drew with. We beat Crystal Palace. So why is it so hard for Liverpool? Yet we shouldn't celebrate. The same people saying we shouldn't celebrate are the same people saying there's a lack of passion in the game. So if passion is
No, but
being
it's not
decreased
just
now,
it's not just the
we're
passion.
showing.
It's
If passion is being decreased and we're showing passion, how can you complain and then the next week say Liverpool need to show more passion, stuff like that?
oh, there we go.
So
There it is.
yeah,
But yeah, it's been a manic stream, guys. George is apparently burning in flames, and where
well, he's
we
not
fully
burning. He's on fire.
he's burst into flames, and I think the city of Toronto could not handle him praising Erdegaard so much. So there's been a fire that's been released because of it, and as this guy Tapera is saying, and don't worry, no one's George, but but Ali say George's Erdegaard take was too hot for the building. So yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about the goal before we head out. So yeah, go on. We both clicked on it at the same time. It's a manic stream today, guys. Everyone's
Oh my god. Anyways, yeah,
there it is.
it was a scrappy goal, a good goal, a goal just which highlighted the way Gabriel was in the last 20 minutes of the game. I think he was good in the ball. His passes between the line did a lot for us in creating chances. The goal was a good one. It was something that we did all night. All the corners were very close to Leno. Like we crowded him a lot. It was very different to the first three games where we had these like passes around back post and all this stuff. We were crowding Leno and causing issues for him. I think we just know how he is and how he doesn't handle the pressure. We saw it in other games at Arsenal. He doesn't handle pressure well. Gabriel pressured him, and yeah, we scored. He scored. Gabriel scored this week after a mistake. Saliba gets her own goal, then scores the week after. Our centre backs have shown some resiliency and good presence in the box. It was a great goal, 86 minute. Saliba celebrated like he scored the goal, he scored the winner.
Yeah.
But apparently he hates Arsenal. Passion from everyone was passionate. Like again, why wouldn't you celebrate a game when
The
you
thing
are
the thing
1-0
is,
down
right,
with
for
16?
years and years, this whole we've had Arsenal fans being accused of not having the proper atmosphere at the ground, always being negative about the club, no one really standing up for the club, and just everyone just looking to make a buck off it and just trying to make sure that they get their 2 cents in and they get their digs in. But when Mikel has said this entire time, even in All or Nothing, when he brought in the North London Forever, he wants a connection with the fans. That's his thing. He wants to make sure the players appreciate the fans. And you see, guys, there's teams like Tottenham winning at Nottingham Forest, and they're having players run onto the pitch to celebrate with them. I mean, fans run onto the pitch to celebrate the goal, 2-0 up at Nottingham Forest. I haven't had a peep about that. We saw Jurgen Klopp get memed for celebrating a draw with West Brom 2-2 by celebrating in front of the crowd. I mean, you can't do anything these days without it being. I mean, I wish these pundits and these guys would talk just as much about the actual football than they would Then they would just random narratives that they want to get a pop off because they're bitter old men. But I think it's funny. I think it's stupid, but it is what it is. I mean, we as George Graham said, it's in our history to be hated. We're this Arsenal Football Club, so just accept it.
Well, this is the table after it didn't change. Everyone got 1 point because no one got the result correct. Yeah, thank you for watching. Obviously, George couldn't say his piece, so I'll say it. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, follow everyone on Twitter. Current at Current BoP on Twitter. Me at CK Football. George will be at George V_AFC.
Correct.
The channel you can find us at BoP Footy on Twitter. Baller Version on Instagram. You can please subscribe, please like, please comment, please share. We do reply to your comments. We do put up your comments in the live chat. We will be back here tomorrow to preview the Villa game because we have a quick turnaround, and then we'll be back on Wednesday because it's the final.
We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow for the Villa preview. Yeah. Before we go, because Chris was saying about the comments, guys. If you comment below, Chris will send it to the group chat and we'll have a discussion about it. We love talking about your comments. We love seeing your comments. I really do appreciate all the engagement. So, yeah, thank you for all the comments and all the lovely live comments as well. This is a very
Yeah.
fun time. So, we'll see you soon, guys.
We'll be back tomorrow and Wednesday. Obviously, one about Villa and one about the transfers. But peace.
Peace.